In this episode, we're going to talk about investing in residential real estate. So talking about investment properties, rentals as we call them, I couldn't think of anyone better than my friend Murray Suid to come join me in conversation about his experiences in being a landlord in buying and selling rental properties. So welcome to Broker Bernie.
Well, thank you for having me.
What's your first experience with buying a second home, a rental property?
Well, we had rented ourselves for many years, and then we moved to California and in one day bought a house. And we were lucky we had a good realtor, and you know, they showed us a lot of what was possible. And then I think there was a partner of ours, or somebody gave us the idea that we could buy another house. We had sort of low-paying jobs, and we didn't think we would ever have a big retirement. And people said, well, that's a good thing to invest in. We weren't in the stock market, and there were houses available. So we purchased a house, and we didn't have any idea what we were doing. The house had plenty of problems. We didn't understand what it was to be a landlord, even though we had a landlord, but we really didn't have any philosophy. It wasn't a field that we were in, but we learned a lot. We learned on the job.
On this first property, I don't know, how long did you own it? Did you get appreciation
Yeah,
value?
it must have been 3 or 4 years, and it was appreciating. And we thought we were pretty brilliant, but my real estate agent explained to me that we were in an everything was going up and everybody was making money. He said you could fall off a log and you'd make money. It was like that, and we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. And however, we liked it, and we liked hunting. We had enjoyed just going around to every open house. I mean, for us, that was how we would spend time. It was a cheap activity. And then I think we must have found another place that we liked very much, and so we bought that, and we did it, you know, a few times in our lives.
And in any of these cases, did you have a tenant that caused problems, couldn't pay, made a mess of things? Do you have any experiences like that to share?
Yes, I think we didn't have a really good philosophy on how to pick tenants, and so I think sometimes we would take the first person, you know, because we had the mortgage to pay. And if somebody said, I'll do it. So one time there was a con artist who you know, took us for a ride, and it was pretty negative. I think we learned about that over the long run.
And so you property managed yourself in most cases?
In most cases.
Or have you used a property management company, and how does that compare?
Well, we used a property management company in a couple of cases. One including the house that I currently live in, we bought, and it was expensive, so I tried to avoid it. But if we weren't close to the property, and this one property manager, he was brilliant, and he knew just how to fix the place up, and he knew how to pick a good tenant, and I learned a lot from him. I just mentioned that we weren't close to it. The original real estate person that we had gave me one piece of advice. He said, don't buy anything that is so far that you don't want to go there to take care of it. And I didn't follow his advice all the time, and I came to regret it. So we learned a lot. I guess what I want to say is it's been amateurish. We haven't taken any courses, but we learned a lot from the people who were our real estate agents, which is not to praise you, but is really the best way to learn, better than a book.
So being hands-on as opposed to outsourcing it to another company, you continue to see what's happening to the property. And I guess you're one who wants to maintain that property in good stead so that when you go to sell it, it has full value, right?
Well, we keep our own house up as much as we can. I think exactly that. Also, when the tenant knows that you're going to fix it, they're a better tenant. They want to stay with you. They feel like you're on their side. And so there's all the good reasons for keeping the place up. And we found it interesting to go to the, you know, Sears or wherever you go and try to see what not that we do the work ourselves, but to find a refrigerator or a washing machine. So we enjoyed that. That was like an activity for us. It wasn't all that, you know, it wasn't all that professional. There was also an evolution, because when we first owned a property and things would go bad, little things like, toilets not work or whatever, I felt like I was being punished, and I hated it. And why is this happening to me? But then over the years, we learned that things break. You just have to accept it, and if you didn't want to solve those problems, probably this wasn't a good thing to do. If you buy stock, you can let the CEO deal with it. So I came to feel like when things would break, not that I like to pay for them, but that was just part of what the deal was. And so I came to actually tell my tenants, because sometimes the tenants don't want to tell you because they feel you're going to be mad at them, or you're going to raise the rent, or you're going to sell the place if it's a really big repair. But I've told my tenants that it's part of the relationship. They have to tell me right away if they hear a sound or something is going wrong, so that we can fix it. And that eases the relationship, even though I know sometimes we had a fence go bad recently and it was thousands of dollars, and the tenants hesitated, but they told me this, and we have a new fence, and so I think this maintenance thing is very important, but I had to come to accept it.
Well, that's a good learning, and everyone should take note, because some landlords don't want to spend any money. They feel like they're only getting a small margin of their rent income over their mortgage payment, over their taxes, over their insurance, and they can't afford to put a new roof on. But what they're really hurting is themselves in the long run, because if those tenants now move out because they no longer like the living conditions and they want to go sell that property or rent it to somebody else, they're not going to get what the market rate could be on a nice home, because they have all this deferred maintenance.
I preferred to have long-term tenants because I know them, I trust them, I feel like I know how they're living and so forth. So when we fix the place up, they're more likely to stay, and rather than say, well, I can move to another place and save $100 a month, they know that we're going to make the place really livable. And the longer the relationship, I think the stronger it is. Even in some cases I have had where a tenant couldn't pay for a month, but there was a sense of trust. They will pay, because over the years they have paid. So there's some risks in this, because I hesitate to raise the rent on a tenant, so it's possible for me to fall behind. On the other hand, there's peace of mind that I know these are good people, or we have a relationship. But I think it took a while for me to come to accept that if we're in real estate, we're going to be getting a new refrigerator, we're going to be a new fence, whatever it is. That's just the way the business is.
Well, I like that attitude, that approach, and I wish all landlords could adopt that, but many are only in it, it seems, for the economic gain to them, and they're not about to spend a lot of money on this rental, and they will cut where they can and push people out as soon as they can. But Murray isn't that kind of a landlord, and I think there's benefits besides economic benefits. Do you feel like this is making your life a little richer?
Well, it is in lots of ways, because real estate is interesting. I mean, a house is complex, and a relationship with a tenant is complex. And even though it's not my main business, it's more than a hobby, and it has enriched my life, because I've learned about real estate and investment and mortgages and all of that kind of stuff. Another odd benefit is that a house that I have that I like very much, grandson is interested in this property. He's too young to have it now, but 10 years from now, 15 years from now, there's a very good chance he's going to move into it. Everybody needs a place to live, and so my daughter and the grandkids have learned a little bit about real estate by our being amateur people in the real estate business. They understand things break. They understand about mortgages. They understand that when we pay the mortgage, which we don't like to do, every month there's part of that mortgage is paying down the principal. And in a sense, it's enforced savings, especially if the market doesn't go down to nothing. I think that these grandchildren have a sense now of what it is to be responsible for taking care of it. One of my grandkids actually helped me pick a tenant for one of the properties.
Very nice.
Interviewed the person, and you know, this is kind of an older teenage person learning about that relationship.
I love what you're saying, and if you, the viewer, are enjoying this kind of a conversation, I would appreciate if you click down that like button. And if you want to see more of these kinds of videos where Broker Bernie has guests and explains all things real estate, please subscribe to my channel and maybe refer it, send the link to a friend. Well, on that point, let me tell you first of how I appreciate you sharing these real life experiences and how you've grown into this and how you don't misrepresent it, both its difficulties, challenges, and its rewards. So Murray, I think you're going to help other people make decisions about whether a rental property is right for them, and I thank you very much for coming on Broker Bernie.
Thank you very much.
All right.